All right, is everyone off their high from that loss? Now, this week we have some serious issues. Really is not funny at all. We lost Michael Gallup, Demarcus Lawrence yesterday, and Lyle Collins. And all will be gone for a good minute. They're not coming back next week or whatever. So that right there is a literal punch in the gut. And I listed them in order of importance of who's going to hurt us the most. And that's why I put Michael Gallup first. I'm partial to Cedric Wilson. He's been my pet cat since he's been in Dallas. But I really believe in him. That number one looks sweet. This is absolutely horrible for Gallup, though. This is terrible. This is like the worst for him because this is happening basically on a contract year. It's pretty good for the Cowboys because now we really have a legit shot at bringing Gallup back next year, because it makes no sense if he has maybe 400 to 500 yards passing this year because he's got to come back later in the season. Then he won't command that much money in free agency. And if he doesn't get a bigger contract in free agency, then we don't get a bigger draft pick with a comp pick. So it makes no sense. It makes better sense for us to get our pennies together and throw a good contract to him comparable to what he would get somewhere else for at least another year, so we can bring back those 4 receivers and give Gallup a chance to go out there and get 1,000 yards from Dak and get his money and the receiver and give us another year with a killer wide receiver core. I hope that's the way it works out in the future. But right now, it is literally much, much worse for Gallup and his camp than it is for the Cowboys, simply because of Cedric and our position there. Next is Lawrence. And Todd Archer sent out a tweet. He said, if neither can play, we're talking about him and Randy Gregory, the 4 top pass rushers would be Terrell Basham, Dorrance Armstrong, Bradley Anae, and Chauncey Golston. And they have combined for 10 sacks in their careers, 7.5 of those from Basham. See, now it made me go, but it's a little bit misleading, but still it's kind of true. It's misleading in the sacks department because Demarcus Lawrence hasn't not been giving us the sacks like crazy. So I don't think we're going to miss the sacks that are going to come in this game or whatever. I feel like the sacks would have come from the group anyway, not from just Demarcus Lawrence himself. It would have came from, Anae and Dorrance and all these other guys, right? So I don't feel like the sacks is affected at all, right? But the pressure is absolutely enormous, especially this game, because what Demarcus Lawrence does do is he gets a consistent pressure on a quarterback. Every play, he's coming. So without that constant in our defense against their passing game, against another team that loves to pass, they passed almost 50 times, maybe, or over 50 times too, against another team that likes to throw, that could be trouble because we could be, allowing him to sit back in the pocket, and it'd be like practice, it'd be like preseason practice for them. Just throw and catch, because it's a very good quarterback and a very good receiving core. So that worries me a lot. But what's even bigger than that is Collins. Collins is the big one. Everything in offense comes through Collins, with the running game, the passing game, the RPOs. He's almost as important. He's second, in my opinion, to Zach, maybe on par with Tyron and what's needed. But he's a very good piece on that offensive line, and it's going to leave a serious hole. And if you don't understand what I'm saying by holes, just say we have 2 teams that pass the ball a lot. 50 passes. One team, Dak Prescott, let's go to the other team. One team, Justin Herbert, he will be passing, and with the threat of Demarcus, Dorrance Armstrong and the crew versus a rookie tackle that basically held Chase Young in check all game last week. He's got that. Now, on the other side, Dak Prescott has Steele versus Joey Bosa. going back to pass 50 times. Which quarterback is more apt to die? The Bosa versus the backup to the quarterback. I mean, so it's going to be hard. It'll be putting our quarterback at so much risk for us to throw the ball a lot, but I just don't know what other kind of offense we can run. I feel like Pollard, who is a lesser running back. He's not Ezekiel. He's not the complete running back Ezekiel Elliott is. Ezekiel had lost steps. None of that stuff. All of it is just false. But Pollard is a better fit on this offense than Ezekiel Elliott. If you're going to run the ball 10 to 15 times, Pollard is your guy, because Pollard's going to hit him. He's going to have that speed. He's going to do all kind of things. If you run the ball 20 to 25 times, Ezekiel Elliott is probably bringing you a W. The problem with that is the effectiveness. How good are we? Are we using it to set up other things? Just when Kellen Moore said, I didn't want to be banging our heads against the wall, it made me scratch my head. And I'm like, man, sometimes banging your head against the wall is good play. You know what I'm saying? That's what the Rams did against Chicago. Their running game, they had backups. Rams had a problem, with injuries with their running game. They just kept banging their heads against the wall. But why? They were setting up those sweet play actions. Something that Dak is great at as well. But, we have to. I don't know if we can deploy a run game like that for Ezekiel Elliott. If Ezekiel Elliott was in San Francisco with Shanahan, or in Cleveland with the Stefanski, I guess I said that right. If he was in one of those spots where they knew how to employ a running game, Zeke would be a lethal blow. But we have a different style of offense here that's based on throwing the football and based on quarterback, and the quarterback's decision has been that way since Romo, whatever. So we're a real quarterback heavy offense. If we don't have our quarterback, it's not going to work. It just isn't. So, and let me just, because I got a lot of kickback on Kellen Moore, because I'm very hard on Kellen Moore right now. And I don't know where the Kellen Moore love came from. I think it came from, people inside the Cowboys organization, because they're positioning him to, it's the same Jason Garrett Wade situation. So they're pushing him over. But in my eyes, and I have the right to my own opinions, in my opinion, if I was going to be impressed a whole lot by Kellen Moore, it would have been last year, when he did not have Dak Prescott. He still had Zeke. He still had something there. He still had the wide receivers. You know what I'm saying? The quarterback that he had for a lot of last year is still starting. I mean, he shouldn't, but the only reason why he shouldn't, because they drafted a stud. If they didn't draft Justin in Chicago, then they would have been okay with Andy Dalton being quarterback right there. With that, you should have generated enough offense to win that pitiful division. And that's the way I look at it, guys. That's the way I look at it. If your offense is that good, it still can work with these players. It works on a high level with Dak Prescott, but with these players, it still will work and get wins in the worst division of football, and it didn't. But I'm not saying anything about the play calling. I didn't have much problem with the play calling itself, because everything comes through Dak Prescott, and Dak makes those plays. When the plays work, they're a good call. So when Dak Prescott makes those plays work, it's a good call. I'll give you a good example of what I'm talking about, so you'll understand the depth of what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about play calling. He called a good play. He called an immaculate game or whatever. But there was actually only like one play call that actually had me scratching my head that I don't believe is a good play call. So I can agree with you that there's just one. So on that play was that option in the red zone with that Zeke got blown up on. I was like, okay, option. When did option become a great red zone thing in NFL? If you don't have like Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray at running that quarterback, so the quarterback can be a serious threat in that in that option. When has the Cowboys been a good option running football team? I've never known us to do it or whatever. So that call was a little suspect, but that was it with it. The problem came after the call, the execution of the play. Dak Prescott was forced, because he had two guys in his face like that. So he was forced to pitch the ball by the defense. He didn't pitch the ball when he wanted to pitch the ball, because he would have gave it to with Ezekiel Elliott with the better angle for him to punch it into the end zone. The way he got it was an angle where he was going toward out of bounds. So that's where the play started to veer off, when that first pick, when Dak had two picks. By the way, why would you have Dak on a play where he would get hit for sure on an option? That's another problem that I have with. I would have had Dak on a hit count where he couldn't take but 10 hits the entire game. But Dak took his hit, pitched the ball before he got hit, was forced to pitch, and Jarwin missed the block. Now there's several levels to this. Is he that bad at blocking? Everybody says he is. Then why is he out there on such an important play, running play, blocking the ball? If you're trying to run the ball, blocking if he's trying to run the ball in the end zone. If he's that bad at blocking, why is he the starting tight end on this football team? I mean, there's a lot of reasons with that one play, because that was really the catalyst that really threw it left. So once he got beat, it left Zeke at a bad angle, going toward the sidelines, that he was going to have to somehow make a move to do this guy. And let me tell you something else. That guy's job wasn't to get Zeke. He just did a great job with getting Zeke, and Zeke should have beat that guy. But his job was just to slow Zeke down. And once Zeke got slowed down, Antonio Winfield Jr. would have cleaned that play up, and it would not have scored. So my problem there is, and I'll go back to what I just said earlier, there's one way that we could have scored on that play, that I feel like we possibly could have scored on that play. Pollard would hit that with his speed and would have had a chance to hit that pylon with all that other crap going on. That could have been blown up. Pitched the ball fast. But Jarwin could have whipped on this ball. Antonio Winfield could have been waiting right there. Junior could have been waiting back there. But if you had the right players in the game for that type play, then that could have been a score. So it's so many levels to this thing that it kind of gets out of control. It kind of gets like to where we're using our best running back in the ways that he's not built to be used. And then can we use our running back? So those are my issues with our offense, not the play call itself, because in my opinion, that's Dak Prescott, because last year them plays didn't work. Kansas City. San Diego has their issues as well. They have Derwin James is out. He didn't practice Wednesday due to a toe injury. So if he's not able to go at 100, that's great. Justin Jones, if he's questionable as well. If he can't go, that's great, especially with us trying to establish a running game. Chris Harris as cornerback, one of the best in the game. If he's questionable, if he can't go, that's great. Kyler Fackrell, linebacker, is questionable, and another huge one, Bulaga, their tackle from Green Bay, he is questionable right now as well. He's considered day to day. So San Diego has their issues on their side. I don't feel like, to win this football game, I don't feel like we have to do anything other than to establish what we do. Now, my issue is what we do. I think what we do, it overworks our quarterback, and it leads to quarterback injuries. And when we will need to run the ball, because sooner or later we're going to go against some teams that we have to run the ball, because right now we can only run versus bad teams, and that's not a way to win, late in the playoffs or whatever. So that's my problem. We still should win the NFC East. I tell you, Philadelphia scares me. Jalen Hurts got some real Dak vibes all over him, that he's doing some work over there. It's selling their jersey out. People are loving him. Teammates are loving him. I do have my eye firmly on the Philadelphia Eagles, but still, all in all, we should win the division, and we shouldn't face many problems until we go up against, like the Rams and the Seahawks and the 49ers, teams that can actually, make you do other things on offense and make you try to do something that you don't normally do. All right, guys. Holla at you. See you on Sunday. Peace out.